There is no adult supervision. There's a story behind that. This is your daily message from Chad, number 1101. To upgrade your mental game today by telling yourself a better story, because the most important story you hear is the story you tell yourself. This message is specially dedicated to George Mack at highagency.com. Here's the upgrade. Your trusting an adult will step in, but upgraded thinking tells you it's time for you to step up. Here's the story. Dawn Loggins grew up in rural North Carolina in deep poverty, sometimes without electricity or running water. During her senior year of high school, her parents abandoned her. At 17, she became homeless, couch surfing with friends while carrying toiletries in her backpack because she never knew where her next shower would come from. Instead of waiting for rescue, permission, or the right time, she stepped up. She kept showing up at Burns High School and took a job as the school custodian, starting work at 6 a.m. every day, mopping floors, emptying trash, and cleaning the classrooms before her own classes began. She maintained straight A's, took AP courses, held leadership roles in multiple clubs, and still graduated near the top of her class. A teacher encouraged her to apply to Harvard, the first student from her school to ever do so. And she got in with a full ride. The community rallied to help her visit campus. She graduated from Harvard in 2016. Dawn didn't have perfect adults to supervise or save her. There was no one handing her a roadmap or declaring her, quote, ready. She simply refused to stay stuck. She took radical responsibility for the one thing she could control, her own effort and choices, and built the life she wanted from there. Dawn didn't wait for an adult to step in. She simply stepped up. George Mack recently wrote an essay titled "The Adults Don't Exist." He coins the term adult syndrome, where reality doesn't match the idea we have in our head. There's a psychological phenomenon called Paris syndrome. It's the shock Japanese tourists experience when they discover that Paris, the city of love, doesn't match the perfect version they built in their heads. Some have nausea, dizziness, anxiety. They're hospitalized because of it. The reality doesn't match the dream. Adult syndrome is the shock of discovering that the adults you admire aren't as perfect as you imagine, that they are flawed former children figuring out life for the first time, just like you, and they can scarcely be considered adults. Mack lists dozen examples in his essay. Mozart overspent his income his entire life, begged friends for money, and died penniless at 35 in an unmarked grave. Isaac Newton, one of the greatest minds in human history, lost his entire life's fortune at 58, investing in speculative stocks. Napoleon Bonaparte, the most feared military general Europe has ever seen, suffered from crippling hemorrhoids. Before major battles, 20 leeches were applied to his backside to manage the pain. A lot of historians think this was the root issue of his loss at Waterloo. During the most consequential nuclear negotiations between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 1980s, Nancy Reagan had a private phone line installed in the White House to reach her astrologer, who produced color-coded calendars dictating when President Reagan should meet with Gorbachev. You see an old photo of your parents and you realize that you're now the same age as them in that picture. Adult syndrome. You ask your grandmother what the secret to life is, and she tells you she's still waiting to figure it out. Adult syndrome. You see, here's the mistake most people make when they feel adult syndrome. They go looking for a new adult in the room, a new politician, a new guru, a new boss, thinking someone out there has it figured out. They don't. Walk into the most important rooms in the world and look closely enough, you'll realize there are no adults in the room. The better story to tell yourself is, I'm not waiting for anyone to help me. I'm taking responsibility for myself. Because here's the truth. Adults don't exist. Not the way we imagine them as kids. Everyone around you started as a sperm cell, came into this world screaming, and has been downloading patterns of behavior from other flawed people ever since. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Stop waiting to become the older, wiser version of yourself. You don't become that person. You create that person by taking responsibility today. You may be afraid and flawed, just like everyone who came before you, but you have to step up. Vincent van Gogh wrote after his first failed attempt at a masterpiece, quote, "I am always doing what I cannot do yet in order to learn how to do it," end quote. That's your adulting move. Kevin Kelly wrote, The foundation of maturity is just because it isn't your fault doesn't mean it's not your responsibility. Tell me a story about a time you stopped waiting and stepped up to fromchadsmith@gmail.com. Send someone a text and ask them, when did you realize you were an adult? You can get a free copy of my book, The Most Powerful Story in the World, by going to fromchad.gumroad.com. The transcript of this message and hundreds of others are always available at www.fromchad.com.